You're at a dinner party. The conversation lulls, and suddenly all eyes turn to you. Someone asks for a story or a fun fact, or just wants you to share something interesting that happened this week. In that split second, your mind goes blank. You scan your recent memory and find nothing but commuting, checking emails, and eating breakfast. You feel entirely boring. We often think that to hold an audience's attention, we need to have survived a plane crash, trekked across the Himalayas, or performed a grand theatrical feat. However, action sequences without personal stakes usually feel like noise. This chart shows a common trend in storytelling. Audience engagement often drifts during pure action. It only spikes when a speaker reveals a moment of vulnerability or a relatable human realization. By scanning the horizon for a massive adventure, you miss the quiet interactions, the brief look from a stranger, or a split-second realization during a commute that actually resonate with other people. Think about the most engaged you've ever been in a conversation. It usually happens across a small table, leaning in, talking to a close friend. This is the standard for the dinner test. Whether you are presenting in a boardroom or speaking on a massive stage, your delivery should match the exact conversational tone you use at dinner with a friend. A great narrative is built on specific math. It avoids the wide-angle view of your entire day and instead focuses exclusively on a single short window of time. This is the 5-second moment, the precise point where a realization occurs, where you know something new at the end of 5 seconds. This realization fits into 3 emotional categories: falling in love, reaching acceptance, or realizing a hard truth. A sequence of facts that lacks this 5-second pivot is just a report. It tells the audience what happened, but it doesn't show them why it mattered. To make that moment feel real, the audience needs to see it. You must provide a concrete physical location for every event, allowing the listeners to build the scene in their minds. When you describe standing under the fluorescent lights of a 7-Eleven at midnight, the audience instantly sees the setting. Without a location, their brains must work to assemble a scene out of a featureless void. We reach that 5-second pivot using a U-shaped narrative arc. If the story concludes in connection, mark that endpoint on the right. To create movement, plot the start at its emotional opposite, complete isolation, tracing the trajectory left to right. If the person you are at the beginning of the journey is identical to the person you are at the end, the narrative lacks weight. Contrast is what demonstrates change. Understanding the structure is one thing, but you still have to find the raw material to put inside it. This means looking closer at the details of a normal Tuesday. This is a system called homework for life. If you look closely at the columns, it's just a simple digital spreadsheet designed for daily data collection. At the end of every day, sit down and ask yourself one question. If I had to tell a 5-minute story about the past 24 hours, what would it be? Isolate that one moment and write down a single sentence. Keeping it to 2 sentences at most ensures this stays a quick habit rather than a time-consuming journal entry. Over months and years, this data begins to compound. This animation shows how those daily nodes aggregate into an interconnected network of specific personal memories. The goal is to become better at identifying these moments in real time. By consistently capturing these details, you begin to recognize the complexity in your routine, turning a forgettable day into something worth remembering.